Good morning, beloveds. So I was supposed to be in almost in Katy this morning. I was supposed to be doing this from my car. But a couple of things happened. One, when the alarm went off at 6:15, it was raining, and we looked at the radar map and went, you know what? I think another hour in bed would be better. So we went back to bed. And then the next time we got up and I checked my phone, I had a text message from the hairstylist who was going to cut our hair. Apparently she's been sick and she's still not feeling well. I know she's not contagious, but she's not feeling well. And I'm like, I get that. So hopefully she'll get better soon. So she canceled us. So I'm not going to the park. I didn't get my hair cut. I'm regularly scheduled here, although I'm running a little late. But what it did do is give us time I finally got my bulletin board cleaned off and I've got my shelves rearranged. So I will be able to work on my shelves today. And if I turned the camera around, you'd be appalled at the boxes behind me. Because we're rearranging our books. It's a wash. And it's what happens. Life happens while you're making other plans. So, yeah. And we rehung the bulletin board and I'm looking at it going, I don't think I like it. So I may not leave the bulletin board up. It may just have to go somewhere else. So, but it is January 28th. Our title is I Put Anger Behind Me. The first quote is, and be ye kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another. And that is Ephesians 4:32. The second quote is, fighting any adverse condition only increases its power over us because we are making a reality of it. And that is Science of Mind, page 614. And then there's a third quote. The emphasis on true spiritual healing is insistently on God, ever available, on people's ability and right to make themselves receptive to this healing presence. And that is Spiritual Awareness, page 24. There is an old Chinese proverb that says, the fire you kindle for your enemy often burns yourself more than it burns them. This idea is certainly as valid today as it was in ancient times. When we are angry at someone, that person may not be affected at all, but we are the ones who suffer harmful consequences. We need to remember always not to let the feeling of anger rule our lives. One way of preventing this is to remain aware. If you recognize that you are becoming angry, take time to stop and think, realizing that nothing worthwhile is ever gained by an angry word or action. Let your thoughts and actions flow from an attitude of love instead. People will on occasion do things that you do not like. But if you are loving and kind, you will find that there are fewer and fewer instances of that kind of person in your life. Somehow they just seem to move away. However, if you continue expressing anger, it attracts to you circumstances that only provoke more anger. So put anger behind and step forward in love. Today, I live out of love. I find people in my world who respond to me in a loving way. My highest self has no cause for anger. I feel a great sense of freedom and well-being, and I am happy in my lovingness. And that is N.H. Norma Hawkins. Another quote that I've heard about anger is, it's attributed to the Buddha. And it says, anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Which is very poignant. Now, that being said, let's talk about anger for a minute. Anger is an emotion. And a lot of the times people will paint it as a negative emotion. And here I'm going to throw the William Shakespeare quote at you. It's neither good nor bad. It's thinking that makes it so. But I believe that anger is an important emotion. Another quote that I've heard recently, and I don't remember who it's attributed to, is that anger can show you where you're not being treated well. So if you find yourself angry, I agree with Norma. You should think about the circumstances. What about the situation is making you angry? Or what about the person is making you angry? What is making you angry? And then when you really look at the situation and go, all right, so I'm angry about this situation. What is mine to do about it? All right. Now notice I didn't say what can I do about it? What is mine to do about this situation? Because sometimes you can do things about the situation, but it may not be your place to do them. All right. So that's one of the reasons why that question is super important. What's mine to do about this situation? And then, do what you need to do what you can do what you're called to do to resolve the situation or, the person, of which you are having these experiences of the feeling of anger. Anger can be an extremely powerful force in your life. When we talk about treating and moving our feet, that spirit responds to the thoughts that are wrapped in emotion. Well, anger is absolutely an emotion, and it is a very powerful emotion, which is one of the reasons why it's extremely important that we look at what the situation is before we speak or take action. Because the words and those actions are going to have effects and they are going to have consequences. So, I'm not telling you not to be angry. I don't believe Norma is telling you to be angry. What both of us are suggesting is that when you are angry, that is an extremely good time to become very conscious. Words said in anger can have very dire consequences. And so that's one of the reasons why I suggest taking a deep breath before you speak. Because it gives you that moment to think. And to recognize the power of anger, and how it can affect your life and how it can affect your life positively and negatively. If you find yourself in a situation and you are angry, then you want to look at the situation and go, okay, what about the situation is stirring these feelings? And is there something that I can and should do about it? What's mine to do about this? Frequently, as I said, anger can, in a situation, show you that maybe you're not being treated the way you think you should be. Now, I did say how you think you should be. So, again, it's worth looking into. One of the things about science of mind is about consciousness. Consciousness. And so, anger is one of those, I'm going to say red flags. It's one of those red flags where you want to look at the situation. And she is right. The less you respond with anger, the fewer angry people you tend to see in your life. They do seem to just kind of work themselves out of your life. And when you respond lovingly and kindly and compassionately to a show of anger, sometimes it will deflate the anger, diffuse the anger. Sometimes it doesn't do anything to the situation. You can look at the situation and go, well, I've responded in a way that is true to me. It's not being received that way. So I'm going to go over here, and it can encourage you to leave a situation. When you're doing it's there, I've read some research on cancer treatments, and that was one of the things that they said is when you're dealing with people going through cancer treatments, frequently angry people respond very well to treatment because there's a lot of passion there. All right. And so you can see how anger can be used positively, where, they're angry that they're in this situation, and they are, by God, they are going to get through it and get to the other side, and take care of this situation. So it is powerful, and it can be used rightly. So I'm never going to tell people not to be angry. What I'm going to say is take a look at the situation and figure out what you need to do about it. And then I do agree with Norma. Once you have looked at this, because once anger has gotten your attention, it has done its job. And then you can put it behind you and move through the situation. So, that's why I say it's a red flag. It says there is something that needs attention here now. Let's deal with this. Whatever it is. And sometimes there's work for you to do, and sometimes it's just simply that you need to move yourself out of that situation or away from that person. All right? So never discount, like I said, anger is an emotion. It is neither positive or negative. It is thinking that makes it so. Once anger has gotten your attention, it has done its job. And then you can move forward, as she suggests, with love, with kindness, with compassion. You do not have to, move forward in anger. It's done its job. You can thank it and say, moving on. Because she's right. When you look at all of that research, the Buddha quote is correct. Anger, holding on to anger, repressing anger, it does terrible things to the body. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So once it has gotten your attention, once it has passed on the information that it needs you to know, put it behind you. Put it behind you. And get on with the work that is in front of you. Okay? That is my suggestion. And I encourage you to really let as much of that go as possible. Let as much of that go as possible. All right. I hope I've done Norma justice. I do think it's extremely important to talk about anger and in that real sense of, hey, you know what? It is a powerful source of energy when used correctly. It is a powerful source of information when we take the time to stop and be conscious with it and to make decisions, to respond to it instead of react to it. Let me glance in here and make sure that I have done her absolute. And I did like that quote from The Science of Mind. Fighting any adverse condition only increases its power over us because we are making a reality of it. That's one of the things that I find really interesting. The war on cancer, the war on drugs, the war on, yes, we are giving it more energy. So, we're not fighting the adverse condition. What we want to do is become consciously aware of it. Anger is a flag of information. And once you have gotten that, then you turn to the solution. Okay? That's my advice for dealing with anger. Let's see. Because she says it right there. One way of preventing this is to remain aware. If you recognize that you are becoming angry, take time to stop and think. Realize that nothing worthwhile is ever gained by an angry word or action. Let your thoughts and action flow from an attitude of love instead. And so that's it. It's like, okay, anger has gotten my attention. And now I'm going to respond to the situation in love. All right? No weakness there. Absolutely not. Okay. Ooh, let's see. I'm trying to look and see if she's got a good quote in here that we can use for mission today. All right. I think we're going to go back to that line of to take time to stop and think. If you were a journaler in any situation, in any way, be it digital or, video or, writing or other mediums, if you find yourself getting angry, what I would suggest is as soon as you have the opportunity to stop and journal about that, write or talk or what have you, create a video about what you think it is in the situation that is making you angry so that you can think about it. Commit your words to paper and then let the feeling dissipate. And then into whatever medium that you are using to record, okay, I am angry and this is what I'm angry about. And then once you do that, then you can start looking at this, what is yours to do about the situation that is making you, that you are having this anger experience about. I'm trying to avoid making you angry. That's what that was. So the mission today, should we choose to accept it, is when we find ourselves with feelings of anger, to stop and record them in some way so that we can then take a look at it from a dispassionate place and start to see if there is something that we can and should do about it. What is ours to do about it? That's the mission. I want you to remember, anger is not bad. Anger can absolutely be a good thing in your life when it gets your attention. And that's its job, to get your attention. What you do from that, after that, do from love. All right? That's the whole thing that Jesus came to teach us. Whatever action you take, do from love. So, while anger can get your attention, we don't act from it. We act from love. But we acknowledge that anger has a role in our life and go from there. Okay, so then the other part is, the second thing is that I always recommend to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. And believe it or not, in that situation, in practicing loving, kind, and compassion, anger has a place. It absolutely has a place, because sometimes anger shows us where our compassion is needed, where our love is needed, where our kindness is needed. You know, and that's exactly it. Once that flag goes up and we go, oh, all right, now what can I do about this situation? How can I respond lovingly, kindly to this situation? And that's why I recommend the practice of love, kindness, and compassion on yourself. You are your own best test subject. But if you do it every day, what you are doing is you are creating a habit. You are creating a first response in love, kindness, and compassion, no matter what happens. So that when you find the situation where you are angry, you can stop and respond in a loving, kind, and compassionate way, because you have ingrained it into your consciousness, your subconsciousness, your unconsciousness, and your consciousness. That is the point of these practices. These practices are to create moments where your higher self, your God self, can come down in and respond to a situation that you might handle a different way if you weren't doing loving, kind, and compassionate things all the time. Like, for example, as I said, taking a deep breath. We can say really awful things when we're angry. But when we practice love, kindness, and compassion, then it gives us where we can take that deep breath and respond lovingly, kindly, compassionately into those situations. So, yeah. Okay. I'm blurring out because the weather is just, I don't know. I thought it was only going to rain for a little bit. It looks like it may rain all day. Yeah. So, practice on yourself. And it looks like taking a deep breath, and it looks like taking a nap, and it looks like taking a walk, and it looks like asking for what you need. You know, sometimes situations happen and you may not be getting what you need. And when there are other people involved in the situation, you need to ask. The most loving, kind, and compassionate thing you can say is, hey, this is what I need. And if they can respond to that, great. And if not, then you know that you can go somewhere else. So, but it is about self-joy. It is, or self-care. It is about self-care. But see where I was going with joy. It is about joy. Because one of the things that I will say is eat dessert first. Well, what I've realized is that's a metaphor for don't save the good stuff. Don't save the good stuff. Absolutely allow yourself to have those moments of joy. Create those moments of joy. And experience them. Even in the midst of great anger, you can find space for joy. So, all right. I think I'm starting to ramble, so I should probably move on. Practice on yourself, create that habit, create that default setting, create that first response. And most importantly, create the ability to respond instead of react. That's part of what this practice is about. All right. Especially when it comes to anger. If you can respond to anger instead of reacting in anger, your life will be a much, much better. Trust me. So there was further. Oh, well, here's where I encourage you to do something to engage your mind and your body, unless the weather's awful. And then, take care of yourself. I do encourage you to drink plenty of water. Hydration is super important. Your brain works better when you are well hydrated. I do encourage you to get early in your day, bright light, especially if it's raining like it is now. I'll take all the artificial light I can get right now so that I can get some stuff done. I do encourage you to, circadian rhythms, bright light. In the words of Ernest Holmes, open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you do live in heaven right here, right now. It's all around you all the time. Oh, because it's a state of mind. And that's what we've been talking about. We've been talking about anger. Well, anger is a state of mind as well. And we don't want to walk around in that state of mind, because anger all the time, that would be my definition of hell. So the more conscious we are, and the more readily we respond to the situation of anger, the more that the more consciously we respond to it, that's how we open the windows of our soul. So when a situation pops up and we feel that feeling of anger, then we look at that, we look at the situation, we look at what's going on, and we go, well, what's mine to do about this? Then we don't stay in that hellish situation, that hellish consciousness, and we can move back into. That's why it's about practice. That is why. The more often we practice, the easier it gets. Practice makes permanent. So as we practice opening the windows of our soul, as we practice love, as we practice kindness, as we practice compassion, we discover that heaven is a state of mind. And once we create it once, then we can create it again and again and again. And heaven ceases to be a place and can become any place. All right. That is, yeah. So, and as always, you can take Emma Curtis Hawkins' advice. Look for the good and praise it. All right. Okay. Where am I? Social media. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark. I'm the running Rev Ryan on the social medias that I am on. Please go like, subscribe, share, especially if you've heard something that really makes you stop and think, hey, you know what? This might be useful to somebody else. And if you want to know what's going on with the center, please email info@creativelife.org. That will get you on a constant contact email with all of the stuff that's going on in the center, in the events. The hot links are hot. If it says click here now, it'll either take you right to the information you want or to the person that'll help you get the information. All right. I think, yeah. I am just rambling today. Here's where I'm going to encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanting day, a paying attention day, a get stuff done day, a rest day, a go dance in the rain if you'd like to day. It's raining here. A stay in and stay warm day, in my house, catter day, where I get to cuddle with my cats. So, love on your fur babies day. A recognize anger as a getting your attention day. A responding in love and kindness and compassion day. A take care of yourself day. A good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day, because you are enough just as you are. You are a beloved child of God. You are a brilliant light. You are a divine spark. You are God in action. You are spirit in motion. You are a godling. in whom God is well pleased and well represented. All right, beloveds. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. I will be back with you at 9 a.m. And since tomorrow is then Sunday, we will have an amazing service on Facebook Live at 11 a.m. Although if you're in the area, you're more than welcome to show up. All right. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. And I will see you next time.